The main point that I want to make on this video is that the people that are running the show, the people that are running our world, they're magicians. They are wizards. This is what they do, right? And they do this full time. And I think most of the people that are listening to this probably know that, right? That the people that are running our world are of occult nature. And this is what they're doing. You know, this is how they run the world. Now, if you're a psychopath of the world and you want to manipulate people's minds and mass mind control people and tell them that they're insignificant, well, what a great way to do that, by starting by saying you're spinning out in the middle of nothingness. It's blackness, it's space, things are just moving everywhere and you're insignificant, you're nothing. What a great way to start mass mind control.
This world is not what you think it is.
The control system, the global control system, wants us to focus on a dot. This is what it does in science with its specializations. You focus on one dot. And if you focus on a dot without peripheral vision, then you don't see how the dots connect. So you're completely in the dark of the bigger picture. You only see one dot within it.
I'll start by saying the Earth is obviously and observably flat, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the globe mathematics requires the presupposition of an R value. So Mick, we have an R value, yes? And I would like you to demonstrate your scientific evidence of this R value.
But I don't have any in the...
Well, why are you using it then? I thought the ball was backed by scientific evidence. We are told continually that the whole body of science backs this nonsense.
Let me explain what I'm using that value of R for.
That's not what I asked. I don't care what you're using it for. I'm asking what your scientific evidence of the value is.
I'm just using the one that scientists use.
Sorry? You're telling me that your proof is a consensus from men? Science is a method. Do you understand what science actually is, Mick?
It is a model of...
No, science is not a model. Science is a method. So, I'll ask you again, or maybe you need an explanation because you're a bit confused. Do you understand what science is?
Science is an approximation of...
No, science is a method.
Well, the scientific method is a method.
Correct.
But science itself...
No, science is a method. That is science.
We have all been programmed to misuse this term, science, because it's been misused on us. And all of us, pretty much without exception, have been brainwashed out of the original assertion of what science is. So we're taught it at school that there's a method of inquiry that has an empirical result at the end, if performed correctly. And it's a narrow term, very, very, very narrow. And there's very few things that actually fit into that terminology, i.e. science. But yet everybody uses the term for everything all of the time. And most of what is claimed to be science isn't science.
Let me just add to that. A guy that is currently studying for a PhD in physics. I think he might be doing theoretical physics. I'm not sure it's actual physics, but nonetheless, he's doing a PhD in physics. And it's his baby, right? It's his intended profession. It's where he's going to spend the most of his working life. And I had the pleasure of a good hour with him where I was telling him that which he preaches and that which he professes to be true is fake science. It's not real science, because anything by definition that is theoretical is not real. And there's a distinguishing line between the two. And if you can't determine where that line is as a normal functioning in society adult, then it's not really that strong a position to be if you can't distinguish between the two. Because if you can distinguish between fake science and real science, everything on that heliocentric model is fake science. None of it sticks. Everything that's real world science is the stuff that you follow the scientific method with. If you Google the word pseudoscience, the definition is basically the perception that you think is real world science or is being portrayed as real world science, but it's not based in the scientific method at all. And that's everything that the heliocentric model is. There's no real science, there's no empirical science, there's no scientific method applied for the heliocentric model anywhere. But everybody seems to think it is, but that don't make it true.
They add math, they add transform equations, they add constants, and before you know it, they just call it science. It's taught in the same class, right? Where you're taught the scientific method. You're like, yeah, that's perfect. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. That's a way to move forward towards truth. And then the next day or day later, that they're teaching you other things, calling it science. You're still in science class. It's the same teacher, but now all of a sudden it's the Earth spins because we add all these equations. And math is not reality. That's so obvious to anyone who thinks about it. But that's the way they get away with it.
Yeah, the theoretical sciences use applied physical science as sort of a camouflage, don't they? Because your cell phone works, and we're told that your cell phone is ultimately communicating with satellites, which make the whole system go, and that's what you think's going on. But it's not observable. It's not falsifiable. Like, nobody can go up to where those satellites allegedly exist. Some of them thousands of miles in altitude, allegedly. That's not falsifiable, and so it is absolutely not science.
And it's just a social construct anyway. The whole globe thing is just a mind trip, right? It's not real. We don't live on a globe.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, they have sort of culturally merged pseudoscience and theoretical science with applied physical science, and the two are definitely not the same at all.
And that's why it's deep-seated into our cognition that when we're told, well, it's science, you go, okay, then, must be empirical, must be proven. Well, no, they just lie to you. They tell you it's science when it isn't. It's pseudoscience. For example, you have astrophysics, where they are making an observation and then coming up with a just-so story to go along with it. So the first step in the scientific method is to observe a phenomena, and when you look through your telescope, yeah, you might be able to observe a phenomena, but you're not going to be able to vary and manipulate any sort of independent variable, i.e. the cause of that effect. And that's exclusively what science deals with, cause and effect. And you're not going to be able to establish the cause of a supernova or a light flashing in the sky. That's not science. But it's called science by liars, and that's the problem.
Alright.
Yes, right. That's what science is. I will ask my question again, Mick. So, back to the R value. Apparently, the globe is backed by science. Now I would like to know what your scientific evidence for that value of R is, please.
Well, that's irrelevant, though, because all I'm using...
You are basing the entire calculation on this R value. In your hand-scribbled notes left in one of the comments, presumably by your own hand, it had approximately 9 references to this R value, Mick. So why would you assert that it's irrelevant?
Well, you can actually put in whichever R value you like if you...
Sorry, do we not have a fixed value of R?
No, it's not fixed, actually. It's very...
So the Earth changes shape periodically, does it?
Calculator.
I'm sorry, does your belief in the Earth that is spherical change shape at any time, Mick?
Change shape, no.
Yes, change shape.
Or size.
I.e. the radius value that you plug into your calculator.
Well, the calculator is a particular
Sorry, you
scientific
don't seem
model.
to be
It's a very, very
answering my
popular one.
question.
It works very well.
Does the radius value for Earth, which is what you use that calculator for, ever change? Ever?
Yeah, it does actually, because...
When on Earth does the sphere Earth physically change shape and size?
It doesn't physically change, but it changes...
So it does not change. So that R radius value that you use, we can just assert here and now that it's fixed, can we?
Yes, 395.
Excellent. Now we have a fixed value of R, so don't quite understand why you obfuscated and told me that it could be changed. It seems you were confused. Right, Mick?
Changed in real life.
Were you confused about changing Earth's radius value? Were you confused
No,
about that?
I'm just saying that the calculator lets you change it, so you can do...
Yeah, well, we got around that little bit of obfuscation, so back to my original question, Mick. What is your scientific evidence for the value of R? You take your time, Mick. I'm looking for scientific evidence.
I'm just using the standard science.
You manipulated the radius of the Earth to satisfy the notion that it appears to look flat, but you want it to be a ball.
Well, what value of R would create a flat Earth.
A flat Earth wouldn't have a R. The maths just has this presuppositional value inserted to the same measurements that we take, Mick. So I'll ask you again, what's your scientific evidence?
Assuming that the Earth is round. Assuming that the Earth is round.
You keep interrupting me, Mick. Mick.
That it is assuming that the Earth is round.
In other words, they presuppose that you're on a sphere to prove that you're on a sphere. That's number one. Number two, the idea of living on a globe is, by definition, a reification fallacy. We do not live on a model. The globe model, as it's taught to us in school, is a model. We don't live on a model. You know, the quicker people start to wake up to the fact that it's just a description of stuff, a model, and that's not where we live, the quicker people will realise things like the paintings from space aren't photographs. But ultimately speaking, every single globe proof that you will ever have hinges around the fact that you've got a vacuum of space. And that is a second law of thermodynamics violation. You can't have gas pressure next to a vacuum. It would disperse. It would fill the space, right? Well, that very detail is the crux.
The global belief is that mass attracts mass and that gravity is innate in matter and that it acts at a distance through a vacuum. So that's the mainstream belief. So this is just a quote that I think is interesting by Mr. Isaac Newton, who said, it is inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without the mediation of something else which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must do if gravitation in the sense of Epicurus be essential and inherent in it. And this is the one reason why I desired that you would not ascribe innate gravity to me, that gravity should be innate, inerrant, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through with which the action and force may be conveyed from one to the other, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws, but whether this agent is material or immaterial, I have left to the consideration of my readers. So I just think that's interesting that people believe so heavily in something that the person who invented it said, don't ascribe it to me. I don't want anything to do with that. That's crazy talk to think that matter can attract matter just through a vacuum and for no reason.
Listen to what Neil deGrasse Tyson says and the word salad that he dices this up into.
Space to outer space and close it once up, thereby filling it with the vacuum of space. What would happen if we bring it to Earth level atmosphere and even to the International Space Station?
It would be the best vacuum we would have ever encountered on Earth, ever.
Really?
Yes. We can't make vacuums as good as space vacuums.
Really?
Yeah. Last I checked, we can't do it. Oh, by the way, you might ask if, quote unquote, nature abhors a vacuum, which of course it doesn't because most of the universe is vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
How come all Earth happens?
Okay, so listen what he just said. He just said, if nature abhors a vacuum, which has been said for years, and I've never heard anybody argue it, then he follows that with, which of course it doesn't, because the rest of the universe is a vacuum. So what he's basically saying now is that nature abhors life, because in the entire universe, there's only this little tiny Earth that has life on it. So that right there is just doublespeak. It's such nonsense. I've never even heard of anyone considering outer space and planets nature. That's not even what I think of when I think of nature. When I think of nature, I think of things associated with the earth, growth, Mother Nature. Everything comes from the earth. Well, he just completely dismissed that and said nature does not abhor a vacuum because the entire universe is a vacuum. It's like, what are you talking about? That's a complete misnomer.
How come all Earth's atmosphere doesn't just rush out into the vacuum of space?
It's true.
Why doesn't it? Yeah, because Earth has gravity, and the gravity keeps the atmosphere separate from the rest of the vacuum of space. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. All right, here's the question. I just discovered...
Wait, did I just say that? No, so...
Oh, wait.
No, a vacuum... I should have answered that completely differently.
Yeah.
So he just answered something, said gravity, and then stops himself and says, wait, did I just say that? I should have answered something completely different. So, I mean, who gets away with saying, did I just say that? Well, let me change my mind and just repeat something else here. So let's see what he changes his mind to. Since he just said he shouldn't have answered gravity, he has another answer.
Completely differently.
Yeah.
So... a vacuum on Earth, we think of nature abhorring it because air wants to get inside the vacuum.
Air wants to go into the vacuum.
Air wants to go because you are in a place where there's air pressure that wants to get inside.
Yes, remember that because that is absolutely true. Air does want to get into that vacuum, and it does it with such explosive force or maybe I should say implosive force, but however you want to look at it, that the power of it is absolutely spectacular. And that's something that everybody really needs to pay attention to.
And we could, the beginning of this statement, the very first thing he said was that if we brought the vacuum that's in space down to Earth, it would be better than any vacuum we've ever built.
Now, commence Operation Vacuum Suck.
Suck, suck, suck.
Higher up in the atmosphere, the air pressure gets less and less and less and less and less, because there's less air above it pressing down. And when you get less and less and less and less and less, the air doesn't want to do anything. It's got no forces. There's no air pressure to make it. It's just going to float away. Okay, so all right.
He just completely, it's just doublespeak for saying that the air doesn't want to do anything, and so that it just floats away, but it doesn't want to do anything. So okay, so let's continue.
Air pressure to make it. It's just going to float away. Okay, so our atmosphere goes out thousands of miles, getting ever so thinner as it gets out there. And so it's not that Earth is holding the atmosphere down, although it is. It's that the air pressure.
It's not that Earth is holding it down, although it is. Who gets away with saying that kind of bullshit? I mean, you can't just go around through life and say, well, it's not that I was in an accident yesterday, although I was. But what are you talking about? How can you just say something? It's not that the Earth is holding the air down to the Earth, although it is. So, I mean, I don't even know how you can get away with it. What is that? That's just doublespeak. We can continue.
Out there has no urge to go anywhere other than just staying right where it is. Right.
So he just said now it has no urge to go anywhere other than staying where it is. But he just told us earlier that all the air wants to go into the vacuum. Yep. All the gas wants to go in there. So, I mean, just watch that back again. And each time you hear it, you'll realize how much nonsense it's filled with. It's just ridiculous.
The whole thing is just a construct after construct. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. And again, doublespeak all over the place.
Right. We should be very excited that we have Neil to teach us, because he said it was gravity, but not gravity. It's Earth does hold it down, but it doesn't. And there's no urge for it to go anywhere, so it floats away.
I think it's really pertinent to remind people of the definition for what gas pressure is. It's the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container. So as the pressure goes up and up into the atmosphere, you've got a force that's pushing down from the underside, that's pushing upwards, because it can't go through the ground. It can go laterally, but we have that all around the globe according to their model. But that pressure's pushing from the underside up. And basically, the higher you go, you've got a force, according to their model, where the gas pressure is being pushed from the underside. It's pushing against what? So when you get towards the top layer, what's the thing that's giving the pressure to have the gas pressure in the first place? Because you can't have that gas pressure without a container, because that's where the definition comes from. The concept that the ball earthers start talking about, and the gravity and all the other things that mix in with that convolute it.
All of these descriptions, all of these things that they give us as models aren't the world we live in. So you've got a ball with gas on the outside in a vacuum of space. Well, as soon as you describe that, it's a model to begin with. So to assert that we live on that description is an absolute nonsense. The world we live in is the world we live in. We observe it with our two eyes. Now, while there might be effects that we see in our day-to-day lives, or not even in our day-to-day lives, at the end of a P900 or P1000, those effects you can quantify with enough time and effort to go through optical effects, perspective effects. You can actually explain them. When it comes to the assertion that we live on a bloody model, all they can do is take those effects and hijack them, exclude perspective, and insert this presuppositional R value. In other words, make you assume you are standing on a sphere to begin with, while simultaneously making you reify a bloody model. Mick, I'm asking you a question I'd like an answer. What is your scientific evidence for the value of R?
He has answered you, Nate. He said that he's assuming that the Earth is round.
Sorry, he said it's an assumption. Your whole calculator is based on an assumption. You're having a laugh, right?
This is backed by science, isn't it?
Of course, you need scientific evidence for
You need scientific
R.
evidence
You
for
need
this
to have
stuff if it's
proof for
asserted
it
by
because
science.
You're basing your calculations on it.
That's not what the calculator is for. The calculator is using the standard model of the Earth.
Right. So what is your proof for the standard model of Earth?
Yeah, the R value specifically.
That's not what I'm giving you here.
I'm not giving us science. You're joking. But there's a lot of baltards out there that seem to think you are giving them science, Mick.
No, this actually, the calculator gives you it's a way of checking the standard model. So
Sorry, the standard model is based on an assumption. So is it a way of double checking an assumption?
Yeah.
It's a way of double checking an assumption. So it's essentially useless.
Yeah.
No, it's actually extremely useful.
Sorry, what is the use of double checking an assumption? What on earth are you talking about?
Yeah, so the use of...
You're just stuttering. What is the point of double checking an assumption?
You said it yourself. It was based on an assumption. You assumed that we live on a sphere. You said it yourself.
Yes, I do. I assume we live on a sphere.
Right. So there's no science behind this whatsoever. It's based on Mick West's assumption. You're having a laugh, aren't you, fella?
We can...
What, are you just stuttering again? Are you having a laugh? I've had a lot of baltards assert that this is science, my friend.
The best way of checking it that I've found is to use a distant island.
What the hell are you talking about? I want to know what your scientific evidence of R is, and you have asserted that this is an assumption. How dare you? How dare you tell other people to go and prove their Earth with your assumption and your rules of thumb?
So, to keep it a bit more concise, the Earth's obviously and observably flat. We don't live on a sphere model. That's all the globe is, a model.